Now let's turn our attention to Libya, a country of 6 million people where a powerful storm has unleashed catastrophic floods. They're ripping through the eastern city of Derna and affecting at least 6 other cities. More than 2,000 people are dead, around 6,000 are missing, 2 dams have collapsed, entire neighborhoods have simply been washed away. Footage shows buildings erased, cars submerged and torrents of water rushing through the streets. Authorities say they did not anticipate a disaster of this scale. Our next report tells you more.
Entire neighborhoods simply washed away. Torrents of water rushing through the streets, collapsing buildings, submerging cars, and killing at least 2,000 people, with about 6,000 missing. This devastation has befallen Libya, a North African country home to about 6 million people. A powerful storm has unleashed massive floods, which led to the collapse of 2 aging dams. This released a swollen, fast-moving river.
Dams collapsed in the south of Derna. It caused water to flow into Wadi Derna inside the city. 3 bridges collapsed completely and water spread inside the neighborhoods. There are entire neighborhoods that moved to the sea, including their residents.
Now floods are ripping through the eastern city of Derna. It is the worst hit, but several other cities have been affected as well, including Al-Baida, Al-Marj, Tobruk, Takinis, Beta and Benghazi. Several bridges have been destroyed. 3 collapsed completely. Entire residential areas have been erased. Buildings that once stood back from the river have now collapsed into the mud. Strong muddy currents are seen across cities carrying debris, vehicles and trees. Many families are stuck under the rubble. Bodies can be seen lying around or floating in the waters. Phone lines in some cities, including Derna, are down, and this complicates search and rescue efforts. For starters, the authorities say they did not anticipate a disaster of this scale, so they were unprepared. Experts say they hadn't studied weather conditions well. They did not take stock of the seawater levels and wind speeds either. So evacuation measures weren't taken in time. Families in the path of the storm remained as they were, and they bore the brunt of the government's failings. As flooding grew more severe, people started being evacuated, but rescuers are unable to enter several regions. Teams are scrambling to find survivors. International aid is pouring in to help Libya. Turkey has said it will mobilize search personnel. The United Arab Emirates is also rushing aid and rescue teams. The US says it is determining how to assist Libya. Meanwhile, Egypt has extended its condolences while learning a lesson or two from the Libyan tragedy, because the weather system is expected to move away from Libya soon and head east towards Egypt. Cairo has already begun preparations to minimize impact of the storm and hopefully avert the destruction facing Libya.
Speaking of friends, Pakistan is losing one that it nurtured, the Taliban in Kabul. Their relationship has evolved over the years, from proteges to friends to challengers. That's what the Taliban have now become, challengers. And Rawalpindi is feeling betrayed. They're making some very serious accusations. Pakistan says the Taliban is violating their sovereignty. I can think of a million memes with the word karma, but I'll tell you what the story is about. The Taliban and Pakistan are engaged in a border clash. This is at a crossing called Torkham. It's a major checkpoint on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. And right now, it is closed. Pakistan shut it about a week ago, and they're refusing to open it. Last Wednesday, there was a gun battle here. A clash between the Pakistani military and the Taliban. The firefight went on for 2 hours. 4 Pakistani soldiers were killed. Islamabad responded by closing this checkpoint. But how did this fight begin? Pakistan blames the Taliban. They say the provocation came from the Afghan side. What provocation? Land grab. Honestly, Pakistan should not mind because they've been occupying Indian territory for decades. But as it happens, they are complaining. They say the Taliban started building another border post. It is close to the main crossing at Turkham, and the Taliban started building it without telling Pakistan. Islamabad says this structure is unlawful. It violates Pakistani sovereignty and it falls inside Pakistani territory. In other words, the Taliban is grabbing Pakistani land. That is the complaint. Yesterday, Islamabad issued a new statement, a message to the Taliban. Let me quote and listen to this carefully. We expect the Afghan interim authorities to be mindful of Pakistan's concerns, respect the territorial integrity of Pakistan, and ensure that the Afghan territory is not used as a launching pad for terrorist attacks against Pakistan. This is epic. Pakistan is accusing another country of using their territory as a launching pad for terror attacks. The tables have turned, and how? Pakistan's foreign ministry is crying foul. It says terrorists are attacking Pakistan from Afghanistan and the Taliban is looking the other way. And that's not all. Islamabad is preaching the Taliban about territorial integrity and the Taliban are having none of it. They blame Pakistan for the current tensions. The Taliban say they were just repairing an outpost on their side, but Pakistan fired upon them unprovoked. In fact, Kabul too has issued a statement to this effect. It says Pakistan is not living up to the values of a good neighbor. We say this is a ready-made script for a political comedy. Although this dispute is no laughing matter, lives and livelihoods are at stake here. These tensions are fueling protests. One of the protests happened in Nangarhar. This is an Afghan province. It is quite close to the Turkham area. The protesters want the border crossing to be reopened. And who are the protesters? Most of them are traders, sellers of fruits and vegetables. These are perishable products, and these traders are unable to move their harvest. The border standoff is causing them huge losses. The Turkham crossing is an important trade route. Goods worth over $2 million cross this checkpoint every day. So if the crossing remains closed, everyone suffers losses. As we speak, a large number of trucks are stranded at the checkpoint. There's only one way to resolve this, through diplomacy. Both sides met on Sunday. They tried to break the deadlock, but they failed. You see, diplomacy is not a strong suit of either side. Pakistan trained the Taliban to fire guns, not deliver the talking table. Now they're suffering the consequences. And this is an old dispute, by the way. The Pakistan-Afghanistan border is called the Durand Line. It's more than 2,600 kilometers long. It was drawn up by the British. Pakistan accepts this line. Afghanistan does not. Now, when the Taliban took over, Pakistan hoped that they would accept the Durand Line. But that's not happening. In the month of June, Taliban's defense minister gave an interview. His name is Maulvi Muhammad Yaqub Mujahid. He was asked about the Durand Line. He ended up trashing it. Mujahid said the Durand Line is not a border, it is just a line. And throughout this year, the Taliban and their proxy, the Pakistani Taliban, have challenged this boundary. They have launched attacks. They have targeted security officials. In recent months, Pakistan has tried to fence this border. This is to stop cross-border attacks and smuggling. And how much of the border has been fenced? 97% according to Pakistan. But the Taliban has challenged that too. Reports say they have tried to cut the border fencing, even removed some of the barriers. So the discord has been festering for a while. It has now blown up. Islamabad once thrived on the chaos in Afghanistan. It is now struggling to contain it. Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau's nightmare is over. 2 planes and 36 hours later, he has finally left India. But not without some drama. Trudeau was supposed to leave New Delhi on Sunday. His plane had another plans. A technical snag left him stranded. That same night, Canada sent another jet to New Delhi to pick Trudeau up. But the second jet was also delayed. It was supposed to fly through Rome. Instead, it was diverted to London. So the plane would have arrived only by noon today. Thankfully, it was not needed because Trudeau's team got the primary jet fixed. And wait till you hear how. A technician from Canada flew commercial to India. He brought some parts with him. And with those parts, Trudeau's plane was fixed. Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar was at the airport. He saw the Canadian delegation off. I'm sure there was a visible sigh of relief as the plane took off. Or was there? I ask because this has happened before. Canada's VVIP planes have a sketchy past. It goes all the way back to 1951. Canada's Prime Minister was attending the Commonwealth Conference in France. His plane broke down on the way back, so the Prime Minister was stuck in Iceland. Trudeau himself has had multiple experiences like these. In 2016, he was travelling to Belgium. After flying for half an hour, the plane returned to Ottawa. Why? Because of an issue with the flap. In 2018, there was more trouble. Trudeau's plane was refueling in Rome during his trip to India. Same problem as this time. Some technical snag stranded him for 2 hours. In 2019, there was a third instance. His plane was damaged inside the Air Force hangar. Guess how? Because the plane rolled into the hangar wall. Why does this keep happening? Well, social media says it's karma. But the real reason is old technology. Canada uses 2 Airbus Polaris jets to transport VVIPs. They were bought in the 1980s. Canada's Air Force began using them in the early 1990s. It's not exactly a spring chicken. But Trudeau is not the first leader to face plane troubles. In fact, there is a long list. Like former German Chancellor Angela Merkel, her flight was grounded by multiple issues in 2018. As a result, she was late to the G20 summit. Something about the G20s, I guess. In 1994, South Africa's president Nelson Mandela had a scare. He was flying on a propeller plane. Around 20 minutes before landing, one of the engines failed. Apparently, Mandela was unfazed. He kept reading his newspaper. The pilot somehow managed to perform an emergency landing. Recently, the German foreign minister had plane troubles. She was on a trip to the Pacific last month. The plane made a refueling stop in Abu Dhabi, and that was it. The aircraft developed a mechanical issue. The minister was stuck there for 18 hours, and the trip had to be cancelled. But Trudeau's plane troubles are more than just fate. They've taken a political turn. Yesterday, we told you why. Trudeau got an earful when he met Prime Minister Modi. His handling of Khalistani elements was criticised. The Indian statement spells out what Modi said. But the Canadian statement, well, it doesn't even mention it. So clearly, Trudeau was embarrassed, as he should be. Trudeau met Prime Minister Modi on Sunday, the same day Khalistanis held a referendum in Canada. It was organised by SFJ, that Sikhs for Justice. It's a Khalistani outfit. The group is banned here in India, but in Canada it's thriving. Rallies, referendums, you name it. They do all of it. Trudeau and his government are ready to defend them. He was asked about these separatist elements working out of Canada, and this was Trudeau's reply.
Obviously, Canada will always defend freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, freedom of peaceful protest. That's something that's extremely important to us. At the same time as we're always there to prevent violence, to push back against hatred.
Poor old Justin Trudeau, bound by Western values of expression and conscience. Except he isn't. Another Western leader was asked this same question about Khalistani extremism in his country. It was British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Look at his response.
No form of extremism or violence like that is acceptable in the UK, and that's why we are working very closely with the Indian government to particularly tackle PKE, pro-Khalistan extremism. I don't think it's right. Our security minister recently was just in India talking to his counterparts. We have working groups together to share intelligence and information.
One hides behind freedom of expression, another promises zero tolerance. Both are Western leaders. Sunak is not doing anything special here. He's doing what any prime minister should, cracking down on extremism, or at least saying that he will. Trudeau cannot even bring himself to say that. Tells you what his motives are. Not values or freedoms, just pure old politics. Justin Trudeau's opposition has sensed that he is weak. Even on this plane issue, they have been relentless. So what does Trudeau do? He falls back on his Khalistani allies. In fact, let me show you some numbers. These are the results from Canada's general elections, the latest one. Trudeau's party got 32% of the popular vote. The main opposition, they got more than 33% of the vote. But Trudeau has a trump card, his ally called Jagmeet Singh. He's a prominent Khalistani politician. His party got around 17% of the vote in Canada. Without Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau cannot be Prime Minister of Canada. So the equation is pretty obvious. Yet, Trudeau hides behind freedom of expression. It may help him win elections, but it won't win him friends in New Delhi. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In Portugal, roads turned into rivers of wine. 2.2 million litres of wine flowed through the streets after a massive spill. In Morocco, people slept on the streets of Marrakesh days after the country's biggest earthquake. The death toll stands at nearly 3,000 as Morocco scrambles for aid. And an Indian Air Force tanker refueled fighter aircraft of the Egyptian Air Force mid-air. This was part of the military exercise Bright Star 23. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1959, the Soviet Union launched the Luna 2 space probe. This was the Soviet Union's second attempt to reach the moon. It was the first man-made spacecraft to reach the moon. We're leaving you on that note. It's goodbye from our Mumbai studio. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Só potência ir ao mar. Foi ataque, rebentou. E o perigo aqui está.
We've crossed 2 million subscribers on YouTube. This is arguably the fastest growing news platform, and we can't thank you enough for fueling this growth. All those of you who join us every day to watch this show and more, thank you. We launched Vantage 7 months ago, and these have been some very rewarding 7 months for us. So from the entire team here, heartfelt gratitude.